Following an open week and heading into the matchup with UCF, history told us things were going to go in West Virginia's direction. Coach Rodriguez's record following open weeks during his first tenure at WVU was tremendous, not to mention the fact that West Virginia had never lost to UCF. History, though, was not an accurate guide or compass Saturday in Orlando as the Mountaineers were trounced by the UCF Knights at Acrisure Bounce House 45-13 the final. We're here to break it all down for you on the latest edition of the Golden Blue Nation podcast, another post-game edition of our show. It's brought to you as always by Mountain State Oral and Facial Surgery, your premier dental implant destination. And we welcome in Golden Blue Nation digital beat reporter Cody Nespor to get his insight on today's contest. Okay, Cody, right before halftime, it looked like West Virginia was really in this game. The score was 14-7 going into the locker room. West Virginia seemed to have had a spark, right? Forcing a turnover on downs that led to a touchdown. In fact, I think the Mountaineers forced turnovers on downs on consecutive UCF possessions. Then the third quarter started and something changed. What was it?
This was just a real, one step forward, two steps back kind of game for the Mountaineers, where, like you said, that first half, there was a lot of good things you could look at and take away from. And unfortunately, all of them were just wiped out there in a really ugly second. And it is a little hard to explain. I think it kind of just felt that they were within a touchdown, but when UCF came out and increased their lead a little bit more, not that I don't want to say the team folded, but the wheels just kind of came off of everything, where the offense lost its spark that it had, the defense just really couldn't stop anything from that point forward. So it's interesting to hear from Coach Rodriguez, his perspective. Obviously not happy, but it really did just kind of feel like it. As soon as that one bit of adversity in the third quarter showed up, it just really got away from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Cody, again, 14-7 going into the locker room. Out of the locker room, UCF makes it 21-7 on a 9-play, 92-yard scoring drive, then has a fumble recovery return for a touchdown, and later has an 85-yard drive in the third quarter scoring drive. 2 plays, 85 yards, 49 seconds off the clock. Pick any of those 3 scores and make them the turning point in this game. And the turning point, as always, is brought to you by First Green Mortgage. Your home is the heart of what we do. Visit them online at fgm.bank. Equal housing lender. Okay, so let's dive in and get a little bit more granular here with West Virginia's performance. We just sort of alluded to the fact that the defense didn't really have a very good second half, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I think the big story at the top of the day was who was going to play at quarterback, right? Khalil Wilkins made his first start at BYU on a Friday night in a tough environment in Provo, Utah. 15 days later, it's Scotty Fox who gets the nod. He was the starter and probably quarterbacked West Virginia's first 3, maybe 4 drives before Wilkins entered the game later in the first half. So let's start with Fox since he started the game. Cody, your assessment of his performance.
Yeah, Nick, to be frank, Scotty wasn't comfortable from the very first play. He got sacked 4 times. You were right. He had 3 drives there at the very beginning. He got sacked 4 times on those 3 drives. He held on to the ball way too long on a lot of those pass attempts. He wasn't comfortable. We talked a couple weeks ago how kind of cool Khalil was starting at BYU, even though that wasn't a great statistical performance. You never felt like the kind of game was too big for him. Scotty, and he's 18 years old. He's a true freshman. He just didn't look ready to maybe be in that role, which he honestly shouldn't be, right? Because there should be 4 quarterbacks ahead of him. Injuries have changed that quite significantly. But I think that was the big thing with Scotty. And you saw him come in late, and it seemed like he had settled down. He seemed more like when he came in late at BYU, where maybe at that point just the pressure's off, so he's letting himself play a little bit more. But really early, it just didn't look good. Didn't look like the kid that we've seen a few times this season have success.
Okay, so technically both Wilkins and Fox led one scoring drive. West Virginia scored in the second quarter. Wilkins was the player who rushed it in. Also scored at the end of the game on a 1-yard rush by Dior Hubbard. Fox nearly had a touchdown pass the play before, but the player was ruled out of bounds at the 1-yard line. Not that it made any difference. I have absolutely no idea how that was called and upheld. It just didn't make sense. The player crossed the goal line inbounds. I don't know. Anyway, maybe there was an angle that showed that the ball was out of bounds when the player crossed the plane, something like that, but just seemed kind of bizarre. The last straw in a very frustrating and bizarre day for WVU. So let's go. We got your assessment of Fox. What about Wilkins? He didn't start the game. He played the bulk of the game, though. It should be noted that he left the game with an injury late after taking a serious lick from 3 UCF Knights on one play. But Coach Rodriguez, and we'll hear from him in a moment, said that it seems like Wilkins is going to be okay, just maybe had the wind knocked out of him.
The contrast was stark when Khalil got in. He looked very comfortable compared to Scotty, which, again, I hate to put Scotty in that position because he's a true freshman. And like I said, he really shouldn't be in that spot. He really wasn't supposed to be. But it was a stark contrast. Khalil looked in. He looked very, very comfortable running the offense. They did have a touchdown drive there on a short field. And then they drove into field goal range there in a kind of bizarre 2-minute-ish drill, which kept kind of getting new life because of penalties and whatnot. Unfortunately, they missed that field goal. But then, just like everything else in the second half, it just kind of all fell apart up until the point where he got strip sacked and then hurt a few drives later. But really, your hope first and foremost is that he's all right. He was on crutches there at one point on the sideline. Rich kind of downplayed the injury in post game. He kind of said, it was just his ribs. So you hope it's, as long as it's not legs or arms, you hope it's okay. But really, my assessment of Khalil is the same as that BYU game, where he looked comfortable. He looked like he knew what he was doing, and it seemed like he ran the offense well. Even if the numbers, aren't spectacular at the end of the day.
For sure. So, and think about what that would be. Not that anyone is hoping for this, but if Wilkins were to go down, that would leave you with essentially only Scotty Fox. Remember that Max Brown is the 5th guy in this equation, but we've really not seen much, if anything, from him at all this year. Okay, let's go to the other side of the ball, Cody. Defensively, this was a struggle in the Sunshine State. Yes, West Virginia forced some punts, which is good because they had only forced 1 punt in the previous 2 Big 12 games. I believe the final number ended up being either 2 or 3 punts forced by the defense. Yep, 2 in the first half, 1 more in the second half for 3 total. Also forced multiple turnovers and multiple turnovers on downs. All of those good things. But if you look at some other metrics, Cody, this was the worst defensive performance of the season from WVU, giving up nearly 600 yards of total offense. That's the most allowed in any Big 12 game this season. 578 yards of total offense broken into 323 for the Knights through the air and 255 rushing for UCF. To me, another stat that sums up how lopsided this game was, if the score and the total yardage stats weren't enough for you. Yards per play. UCF, 7.7 yards per play. WVU, 2.7. The disparity was gigantic in a number of categories.
There are a few things here that really kind of went against West Virginia, and it's really unfortunate because, like I said, there were so many good things in that first half that just don't matter anymore because of the second. I've been harping on this show the last few times about complementary football. They really played that in the first half. The defense got stops. They forced punts, the 2 turnovers on downs. They really won the field position battle in that first half. But then you look at it, UCF had touchdown drives of 97, 92, and 85 yards. And if you want to go further, 72, 68, 65. So they were getting them in good field position and just giving up long drives. And then the thing that just killed them was the explosive plays. 6 passes of 20 or more yards, 3 runs of 20 or more yards. Zach Alley and Rich, too, really harped on tackling this week. And Scott Frost obviously knew that. He threw a ton of screens. He got a ton of guys in space. And really, I thought that was kind of UCF's game plan was like, we're just going to put our playmakers in space, and if you can tackle them, you can tackle them. And West Virginia couldn't tackle them. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. You look at the 83-yard touchdown run, the long touchdown on the long run on their very first play of the game. There were just so many instances where tackling, it's so fundamental to football, but there's so many instances today where tackling was just a glowing sore spot for this team. Excuse me.
That was as tough for you to spit out as it was for the Mountaineers to tackle ball carriers today, Cody. Yeah, I mean you're exactly right. Like it's summarized in another statistic that UCF had 3 scoring drives of 85 yards or more. 2 of them 92 plus yards. West Virginia's defense just really struggled against a UCF team that had been formidable but just hadn't won a game yet this season. Played close games against Kansas and Cincinnati, and then turns around with a blowout today against West Virginia. It is the first win for UCF in the month of October as a member of the Big 12 Conference. You had the note earlier in the week, Cody, a losing streak in October that dated back to, 2022 before joining the Big 12?
Right, 2022, they had lost 9 straight in the month of October.
And it's also the first time that UCF has defeated West Virginia on the gridiron. WVU had previously won all 4 meetings in this series. All right, quick break to take. Then we're going to listen in to post-game sound from head coach Rich Rodriguez following West Virginia's 45-13 loss at UCF. This is the Golden Blue Nation podcast presented by Mountain State Oral and Facial Surgery, your premier dental implant destination. Back after this.
The reason I came to the practice was because I had some teeth extracted and I wanted to get some replacements for it. We did a treatment plan to see how many implants they were going to place, and now I'm actually just waiting to get the crowns. The thing I liked the most about coming here, I was greeted with a smile, everything ran smooth, and that they were really going to do what I wanted them to do to make my smile a little better. They're some of the best doctors, and you will get good quality care.
Searching for a mortgage lender that's 100% local, personal, and focused on home loans? First Green Mortgage has been serving West Virginia for more than 35 years, and they can assist you with every step of your home ownership journey. Visit them in Bridgeport or Morgantown or at fgm.bank.
Rich, I'm sure after bye week you were hoping things would be better, but
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, we stunk in every phase, every way. I mean, I thought we had good weeks practice. I've done this a long time. I thought the guys were ready to play. Hell, but we didn't do anything well. Looked slow, out of position, missed tackles, didn't block. Hell, had 2 holding penalties on draw plays. That should ever happen. And so, just, again, poorly coached, poorly executed, poorly played, poorly everything. So I'm hoping this is bottom. And then, you could say, well, you're playing young quarterbacks, and we are, and there's growing pains with that, but, that doesn't explain everything.
Continue with the quarterbacks, and your thought, obviously.
Just trying to, Greg, just trying. We're got to give everybody a shot and do it based on what they've done in the game, but also what they've done in practice. I got to make a decision based on practice. And they had the 2 young guys. The only guys who were healthy were the 2 young guys. And so just try to base it. It's got to get the first shot based on what practice was like the last 2 weeks. But it's not. It's a lot. It's a lot on them, but it's a lot on them more when the pieces around them aren't helping. You know what I mean? And we've got to figure out a way for that to happen, because if you got a young quarterback and you can run the ball, or you don't have to get rid of it so quick every time you drop back and that kind of stuff.
Does that thought of giving guys chances, that extend to other positions and even like to the line?
Oh, sure, yeah. But, the thing is, it's not like if people say, well, it's change up on the O-line. Well, trust me, if we thought that the change up would be better, we will do that, and we are trying to do that.
Rich, how do you unlock Dior more? I mean, that was the talk coming in, that he just wasn't able to get unlocked, but there's a lot of room there.
Yeah,
it seems like there's more to unlock.
Well, I hope so. I think there's more to unlock for a lot of guys, but
is it just line play, or is it on him at all?
No. I think Dior's competing and sincere. I mean, we don't have a whole lot. So I got to watch the film and see if we miss some of the stuff. But we're not getting a lot of push, like we need to, and that would help on the O-line. We're having to rush things a little bit, but some of us, the quarterbacks, are rushing things a little bit too. It's just there's a multitude of things that we've got to fix, and that's kind of falls on us coaches.
One of those things is defense. A lot of explosive.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, 3 drives started inside the 10-yard line they scored, and we missed some tackles. Looked slower, if that's the right word. Weren't playing as fast, maybe, as we needed to, and the execution part, the scheme part, we're gonna have to look at. But it was not a good effort from anything, from any facet.
Any idea with Khalil's injury at this point? Or
He said he just got kind of hit in the ribs and kind of knocked the breath out of him a little bit there.
Did you expect them to go for it on fourth down as much, especially early?
Them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of does that nowadays,
Okay. Is that part of what went into you guys going for it on fourth so much early as well to kind of counter?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we value the possession so much because, one, we're not stopping anybody. I don't know if we had any 3 and outs, and I've said that since the beginning of the year. In order for us to play what we want to play, we've got to get first downs and we got to get 3 and outs, and we didn't get any one of them. And I don't know. I know what we got to do to get fixed, and we got to do everything we can to fix what we can fix right now, and then fix what we got to fix later. We'll fix that too. But there's stuff that we got to fix right now, and that's where our focus will be.
I think Ty Edwards is done for the year.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the hip injury.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, both of these teams offensively were almost the same with injured O-linemen, quarterback carousel. I mean, what do you think kind of gave UCF the edge?
They playing the fourth quarterback?
Yes, they did. Dobby?
No, were they playing the fourth quarterback because of necessity?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Okay.
They put him in a couple times for some rushing plays, but that's about it.
Yeah. Our 3 older guys are all injured. 3. And our 2 freshmen are the ones that are playing.
You see anything positive from the quarterbacks? I mean, young guys competing.
I don't know. Yeah, I think they're competitive guys. I don't know. We could maybe try to help them a little bit, have more success because they didn't. I thought they'd play better, and I thought we'd play better. But again,
You trying to work the perimeter, simplify things for them? Is that what you were going?
Just a little bit, Jed. How people are playing us. I mean, they know we're gonna run it inside there a little bit, some inside zone stuff. But we got, there's gonna be some things on film we're gonna this should have worked. But there are some other stuff like, we gotta help them out with a better play. So it's a combination.
What did UCF do to limit Wilkins running in the second half?
I don't think we sustained blocks as well as I think they got off blocks better than we did today. I mean, their defense got off blocks better than our defense did, and I don't know if we, challenged them enough like we needed to. So, from a scheme standpoint, we got to look at that.
Defensively, is there anything that can be done, especially pass defense wise, secondary?
I got to find out why we had so many guys so wide open. I know one time we're supposed to have a deep safety in the middle of the field, and we didn't, and it was I think the second touchdown or something of the game, that's kind of like should never happen. So there were some breakdowns there. Why it happened, I got to find out why. But we played really poorly. As poorly as we played defensively. If I've had a team play defensively in a long, long time, and so our guys are pretty conscientious coaches, and they'll do what they can to fix it. Like I said, some of it is getting some guys in the right spots, and some of it's our guys, frankly, get off blocks and keep contained and don't make a mental mistake and all that. But that still comes back to us as coaches, getting to where they can be comfortable doing our stuff.
Okay. Thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you, Rich.
Yep.
That's head coach Rich Rodriguez following West Virginia's 45-13 loss to UCF. Mountaineers have dropped 4 in a row, all in Big 12 conference play. They're now 2-5 overall, 0-4 in the conference. Do want to just quickly tie a bow on one more quick note. Coach Rodriguez confirming during that postgame press conference that running back Ty Edwards is out for the year. So as we bring back our digital reporter, Cody Nespor, Cody, that list just keeps growing, and that's not a recipe for success for a struggling team. Offensive players out for the season: Jaheim White, Jaden Bray, Nico Markiel, and now Ty Edwards. That's 2 running backs capable of being starters, a wide receiver that could have been the top receiver or maybe second to Cam Vaughn in Bray, and of course, Markiel, who was the starting quarterback in both of West Virginia's wins this season and played a key role in that comeback in the backyard brawl. It's been tough, for sure, but I think that without Edwards, like, he was a guy that you think, okay, maybe if he can come back and get healthy, maybe that takes a little bit of the load off these freshman quarterback, Wilkins and Fox. But those reinforcements just simply are not coming.
And the guy you don't mention is Jalen Henderson, who misses his second straight game, third straight week, where he's, a redshirt senior that, as Rich said, his young quarterbacks aren't getting any help. He's a redshirt senior that's played that maybe wouldn't need as much help to have success. But he's another guy, not technically out for the year, but this seemingly a long-term sort of deal. So yeah, so that's, they've got 5 games left. Really, you're at the point where the other thing Rich talked about is like you just got to put guys in, right? Like guys that are practicing well, who maybe you don't think are going to play in a game. If they practice well, you just got to put them in and see. 5 games left, down to your 2 freshman quarterbacks. Not a ton left to lose this season. And I don't want to say you're playing for next year already, but if these young guys can get in and get some snaps, that's that's something positive we can take away.
For sure, Cody. Okay, so the next game is a big environment for WVU. It's the Coal Rush game against TCU. Mountaineers going to play their first home game in nearly a month, a week from today. Saturday, 6 p.m. kick against the Horned Frogs. Game on ESPN+. We'll have Mountaineer Game Day and Rich Rodriguez Show pregame coverage for you Saturday morning, starting at 9 with the Rich Rodriguez Show and continuing at 10 live with Mountaineer Game Day. Big game for the Horned Frogs today against Baylor, though as we record this at about 5:30 p.m. Eastern time following West Virginia's loss, that game was delayed due to weather. Both Baylor and TCU 4-2 entering the weekend. On one hand, when you looked at it at the beginning of the season, you said, wow, TCU could be a really solid team with a veteran quarterback and a coach who had led the Horned Frogs to a national title game appearance just a few years ago. But on the other hand, if there's going to be a time to pull an upset, it's the Coal Rush game, right? I know it didn't go West Virginia's way last year, but this is sort of a baked-in good environment game similar to the Backyard Brawl. And you saw the way that the fans impacted that game in a major way against Pitt. Yeah, will it have the bite of the brawl? Probably not. But there's going to be a buzz at the stadium that day, and that's something that the Mountaineers just haven't had. It's been sorely missed because they've been on the road for so long.
And it's homecoming, right? Homecoming, and with the Coal Rush on top of it, so it will be a good crowd. It will be a full stadium. The schedule makers really didn't do this team any favors. To be away from home for this long, obviously they don't know they're going to get banged up, but to be away from home for this long, having to play so many young players, it's a hard thing to do. So hopefully, they are able to come back home to a friendly crowd, a crowd that, maybe can disrupt TCU a la that brawl and maybe kind of get the season back on track, or just some positives, to take into the last month or so.
Absolutely so. Again, make sure you tune in for our pregame coverage before the TCU game. It starts with the Rich Rodriguez Show at 9, Mountaineer Game Day at 10. Check your local TV listings for more details. He's Cody Nespor, Golden Blue Nation's digital beat reporter. Cody, thanks as always for jumping on the postgame show and sharing your insight with us.
It's my pleasure, Nicholas.
Thank you, Cody. Okay, that's a wrap on the Golden Blue Nation podcast. We're brought to you as always by Mountain State Oral and Facial Surgery, your premier dental implant destination. We hope you'll join us again next week as we recap the action between West Virginia and TCU. Until then, for Cody Nespor, I'm Nick Farrell signing off. This has been the GBN Pod. Thanks for being with us.